Good morning, and thank you for tuning in to the City of Pittsburg 2020 State of the City Address. My name is Kathleen Flannery, and I serve as the Vice President for Advancement at Pittsburg State University and President of the PSU Foundation. Don McNay and I have met in 1996, both transplants to Pittsburgh, fully embracing our new community as members of Leadership Crawford County through the Pittsburgh Area Chamber of Commerce. Since that time, we have worked on numerous city and organizational projects together. I'm honored to stand beside her today. Dawn told me to keep her introduction short, but I'm not sure how to do that. She is so passionate about service to our community. She is a true servant leader and definitely walks the walk. You will find no one more committed to bettering our community, particularly in the areas of education and access to health care. She has served in a variety of volunteer leadership roles within our community. On the board of the Family Resource Center since 1998, the USD 250 and PSU Foundation boards, and the boards of the Pittsburgh Public Library and Southeast Kansas Technical Education Center. She served on the USD 250 Board of Education from 1998 to 2013. In honor of her service, some of the awards she received include being named as Rotarian of the Year, Friend of Pittsburgh Community Schools, an influential woman, and a woman of distinction. Since coming to Pittsburgh in 1993, her professional leadership has included almost 20 years in a variety of roles at what is now Ascension Via Christi Hospital. She currently serves as Director of Development at the Community Health Center of Southeast Kansas. Pittsburgh is so fortunate to have Dawn as our mayor, especially with her network in the healthcare industry as we navigate the challenges brought on by the current pandemic. Our theme for this address is resilience. The Pittsburgh community has demonstrated its resiliency in the face of challenges many times in our history. This year has put innumerable obstacles in our path, but it's not the first time our community has met adversity. If we go back to our early days as a community, we have weathered a variety of challenges. After the Russ Hall fire in 1914, the community rallied around to rebuild. Within 36 hours, the funds had been raised by the citizens of Pittsburgh, and area churches, businesses, and the YMCA offered spaces for classes. As a result, classwork continued with little disruption. In 1917, Camp Brandenburg was set up on the college campus. Volunteers from the community made up 2 batteries that eventually saw service in France during World War I. Similarly, during World War II, the college offered housing and training sites for soldiers. Times were difficult. Pittsburgh had various drives to collect scrap metal and rubber. The residents persevered through food shortages and rationing by creating victory gardens, many similar to the new gardens that popped up during our last few months. We weathered the pandemic of 1918, the Depression, the decline of the coal mining industry, polio, TB, and the turbulent 60s. I also still marvel at the number of successful entrepreneurs we have nurtured. They have the resilience to overcome a variety of challenging markets. We have persevered through a variety of obstacles and come together stronger. We've all been faced with personal crises, and most of us are fortunate enough to have a support network to assist us. It's the same with a community. Our city has a long list of committed leaders and citizens who step up to make challenges and support one another. We need each other now more than ever. In the 24 years that I've been in Pittsburgh, I believe now we have more commitment and strength than ever before. We wish to share reminders of that strength and commitment with you this morning. It's my pleasure to introduce the most selfless, dedicated community servant I know, the Honorable Dawn McNay, Mayor of the City of Pittsburgh.
Thank you for those kind words, Kathleen. On behalf of the City of Pittsburgh and my fellow commissioners, good morning. As Kathleen shared, our history is one of facing adversity with grit and resilience. And in those times, our community was asked to come together and face an unexpected challenge, one that is still with us, the COVID-19 virus. And we have come together. Beginning in early March, our medical community began daily calls to assess our readiness and response, and those calls have continued even now to lead us through the virus, working together to open schools and keep businesses viable. And we are not at the end of this journey, but we can confidently say that we are a model for how healthcare, education, and governmental entities work together to keep citizens informed and schools open. Our leaders have reached outside their comfort zone and come to the camera with frequent updates on city services, medical information on the virus, and how to keep businesses safe to operate and access federal and state financial resources. Support for our business community came from your city government with revisions in ordinances to extend serving areas, and in a remarkable way from our citizens, supporting any business that found a creative way to be open. We could say there were many random acts of kindness, but they were not random. The kindness is a result of a community that is connected and understands that there is always a need to help others. Like our faith community, providing students meals during spring break, the Lord's Diner continuing to serve, the library providing families a connection to the outside world through the bookmobile, the many meals provided to ER staff, police, and fire, and the loads of coffee from anonymous donors to Community Health and the Family Resource Center. Your city government made the conscious decision not to lose momentum, knowing that stopping would make it harder to get going. So road crews continued to improve streets, certainly helped along with less cars on the road. Our law enforcement responded to an increase in calls. City administration made the tough call to close the pool and cancel the fireworks to keep us safe. And the City Commission having to limit the number attending our meetings, but providing avenues to continue public input. All of this work and effort is allowing our city to combat the effects of the virus in a proactive way, not reactive, not to surrender, but to build that resiliency and capacity for full recovery by working together. Many of you know that my family is working on our own resilience with the death of my husband in June. However, we are not alone in dealing with uncertainty during this time. We have citizens that are dealing with severe health issues, loss of a job, loss of a home, a place to sleep, food insecurity. So why does your city fight so hard for housing, infrastructure, education, economic health, public wellness, and to communicate? Because when we say forward together, we mean forward together. We have to have a firm financial foundation based on diversity in business, and Pittsburgh needs planned growth. Crawford County is the only county in southeast Kansas predicted to grow in the next decade. 2 comprehensive housing studies have provided the data that many of us already know. A house to make a home is the foundation for a quality of life. Our housing stock needs to be replenished. As a result, you saw the implementation of the land bank. Since 2019, 31 lots have been sold, and we will close 2020 with 30 new homes built within existing neighborhoods and moderately priced between $70,000 and $140,000. The housing market in 2019 was rockin', with 551 houses sold in our area, an increase of 19%. And our local realtors say that due to low interest rates, housing sales have continued, and there was no shutdown for them. They masked up and sold houses. To support business growth and attract individuals that work in Pittsburgh but live elsewhere, we need planned new housing developments, such as Silverback Landing and Creekside East. And tucked away throughout our community is other new housing: Higginbotham Properties, Dennett Properties, Peyton's Hamlet, and the Leland Lofts. Pittsburgh Housing Department continues to support those that need assistance to live in a safe, affordable place by helping over 500 families through various funding sources this past year. That firm financial foundation, growing our tax base, depends on improving and increasing our housing option for all income levels. And your city leaders are committed to this and committed to engaging citizens in that process. You know, it's easy to judge our town by the quality of our streets. Do we have good connections between productive places? Our road crews addressed over 60 miles of road over the past 21 months. Street maintenance is important and constant. And what should you expect in road management? You should expect a plan based on data addressing the connectivity within your community. You should expect an efficient method for sustainable repairs, and you should expect that as we grow areas, they are not left isolated from public safety. Our proactive planning has allowed us to continue combining private funds and local and state resources to improve South Rouse, 20th and the Bypass, and the upcoming improvements to East Quincy and the 4th Street Bypass. And just this week, Frontenac and Pittsburg collaborated to improve Atkinson. And you can see the past and current accomplishments through the comprehensive interactive data on the city website, a way to keep you informed on your taxpayer dollars. As a city commissioner, I now know more about storm and wastewater than I ever thought I would need to know. And water is a wily creature, and managing its benefits and adverse effects requires diligence. We have enlisted consultants to help us evaluate how to address increased rainfall, an aging stormwater system, and planning for growth. What is our collective responsibility to keep the life of our system? Keep grass clippings and standing water out of our shared streets. Don't flush baby wipes or pour chemicals and solvents, paint down the drains and sewers. And you can seek options for those items at the Southeast Kansas Recycling Center. The most significant infrastructure improvement we will see in the next 5 years will be the replacement of our 65-year-old wastewater plant. This is a $40 million project, and your city leaders are exploring all avenues to help mitigate the overall cost to taxpayers, but it is imperative we move forward. According to the recent Pittsburgh Micropolitan Area Economic Report, almost $480 million have been invested in this city in the last 5 years, and most of it private dollars. That investment has resulted in creation of over 1,500 new jobs. Also noted is that Pittsburgh, as a regional center for retail sales and consumer services, has acted as an economic buffer to decreased retail during this year. The diversity of our business base has created resiliency, and if we measure the impact of the COVID shutdown by the city's revenue, it is encouraging. Currently, sales tax revenue is up 2.7% from last year. However, we are not so naive to think that we cannot relax our fiscal diligence. Next year's budget is built on a conservative platform recognizing a continued virus and honoring our goals of maintaining our reserves and managing our debt. And the foresight of city administration has allowed us, as an employer, to manage our health care insurance costs without increasing premiums for our staff for the past 6 years. Investment in local entrepreneurs continues, with economic tax dollars supporting medical providers such as Dr. Jackie Eustace's Renew Medical and Spa facility and the fabulous building renovation that is now Riggs Chiropractic. And our downtown area continues to benefit from the value of renovating existing buildings by CDL, Larry Fields, and Alyssa Rogie, with their investments totaling $1 million. We welcome the city's only new car dealership, Mike Carpino Ford, with an improved annexation request and incentive package to support a $250,000 renovation. And also, breaking new ground in Pittsburgh is the state's first CBD oil processing facility. Sunflower Hemp is a $1 million project in the city's Northeast Industrial Park that will bring 10 to 15 new jobs to our community. And finally, a critical investment in our healthcare workforce is Community Health Center's $6 million clinical education facility to support the family medicine rural residency, along with numerous other medical education programs. This project is predicted to create 30 new jobs upon completion in 2022. 2019 saw record numbers in filled hotel nights And understandably, this year's numbers are down. But this year to date, the numbers have exceeded those in 2016. In the words of our CVB director, should all the events canceled this year be held in 2021, we will pack 1.5 to 2 years of activity into 12 months, including the 4-State Farm Show. The City Commission's decisions should affect the needs and values of our community. To accomplish that, there are 13 citizen advisory groups to provide perspective. And for example, we can look to the Active Transportation Advisory Board for their work and recommendations that led to the sidewalk along Memorial Drive. Participatory planning with over 500 citizens resulted in the Land Use Plan, a document that reflects the community's values to guide current and future growth. And prior to March, the momentum of the IP 2030 citizen-led planning process was energetic. And though community meetings could not happen this year, the Executive Committee continues to move forward the areas of need, such as expanding child care access. And never understand the power of a single letter to the city identifying a problem to be solved. We now have 20 dog waste containers across our parks and trails. The 3 months of COVID shutdown and continued precautions have made this spring feel, well, there are a lot of words that come to mind. It can be said that the best prescription during this time was our 14 parks, walking trails, golf course, and tennis courts. Features like Kittyland provided a lifeline for families to some sense of normal. Maintaining these spaces was a conscious decision by city administration, recognizing the importance of these to the public wellness. And we thank those employees that wore multiple hats to keep those areas viable. And how fortunate we are to have local bicycle shops, hardware, and landscape businesses that saw a busy spring. We would be remiss today if we did not take a moment to acknowledge those individuals that kept our town going during those spring months. With hiring frozen and expenditures restricted, our city staff worked at reduced staffing levels. Parks and Recs staff maintained the parks. The utility department cleaned stormwater drains and kept our water services running, and our police and fire departments provided public safety services 24/7, and City Hall maintained the momentum and managed the uncertain future. Our healthcare workers went to work every day, finding ways to adapt to an unprecedented, ever-changing situation. And our schools. In the space of 15 days, our school district set up remote learning for over 3,000 students. Hundreds of teachers created alternative ways of teaching. Over 85,000 meals were delivered by district bus drivers that clocked over 54,000 miles over that time. Even now, 75% of our K-12 teachers are teaching seated and remote students simultaneously. Did everything go perfectly? No. However, we learned, and now the city, school district, and community health are collaborating on a grant to strengthen internet access for our families. The return of university students was a challenge. PSU administration came forward with a plan crafted in partnership with our health officers. As the expected surge showed up, we should be proud of our response. It was swift and comprehensive, and to date has reduced the outbreak. This pandemic has taught your city to be nimble, to rethink and embrace a different way of doing business, to be open to individuals and businesses reinventing themselves to be successful moving forward. Relationships all across our community are stronger. We have a structure for ongoing communication and systems to respond to the unexpected. But we never lost sight of what is most important, caring for one another. A fiscally sound city government allows us the capacity to implement programs that help our most vulnerable, such as our partnership with the Center for the Family Response Advocates at the Police Department and our wonderful team in the Housing Department. And it opens up doors to new conversations, such as ways area organizations can assist the police department to respond to our citizens that need help outside law enforcement. What should your city's goals be for the next year coming out on the other side of this pandemic? Continuing on our track to economic prosperity with new and expanded business, community pride and civic engagement, job creation, strong schools, and working together. Recently, our county health officers received the Spirit of Pittsburgh Award, and we congratulate them. However, it is the enduring spirit of today's Pittsburgh that has seen us through this uncharted territory and provides the grit and resilience to move us forward together. Thank you to the citizens of Pittsburgh and the staff at the city, especially those that made today's presentation possible. If you are watching our program today and you would like to access any of the data I've shared throughout the presentation, I encourage you to go to pitks.org/SOCO2020. Thank you. And now I would like to introduce Marlene Willis, a 9-year member of the USD 250 Board of Education, to share some closing thoughts.
Thank you, Dawn, and thank you, Kathleen. Thank you both for reminding me that this community, that we have, and that in this community, we have weathered other difficult times. And not just weathered, ultimately this community moves forward. Pittsburgh has that something, the something that draws people to live here, work here, and choose to raise children here. That something helped me and my husband choose Pittsburgh as our home and as our community nearly 25 years ago. Our family made the right choice. We've heard this morning how the community and the city have stepped up, not just because of this current challenge, but as part of the ongoing economic health of this community. Private donations in the millions, effective use of grant opportunities, and ordinary folks simply stepping up to find the right solutions. Solutions like how to safely educate students and maintain public health without negatively impacting our economy. As a school board member, I have to say that has weighed heavily on my mind. Our school administrators worked with our county health officers to create a back-to-school plan allowing for modified quarantining of students. This plan allows students to quarantine within their classrooms. You can ask, well, why is that important? In the first 18 days of school, we had over 500 students that needed to quarantine. By keeping those students in school, approximately 1,000 parents were able to continue working, which keeps our businesses open. Solutions were found by working, you guessed it, together to balance public health, education, and the economic health of the city. So, what's next? Well, as Dawn mentioned, we cannot stop. Our resiliency is key to keeping the momentum moving forward towards prosperity, growth, and a healthy community. So how? Well, there are a few basic things that we can all do. One, we can support our city's efforts to improve our infrastructure by ensuring that our streets continue to be repaired and maintained for the next 10 years by voting on October 6th. And you can learn more about this at the city's website, which is pitks.org/SOC2020. There are other ways that we can do this too. We can support each other as neighbors and as shoppers at our local small businesses. Show kindness and restraint. Dig deep into that resiliency. Protect one another by wearing masks. Work together for the common good. And find time for imagination, recreation, and renewal. And lastly, be part of the solution forward together. Thank you for joining us today.